Good afternoon and welcome to this lecture on the nature of consciousness. What do we really know about this fundamental yet enigmatic phenomenon? Well, the first thing is we know it exists. Despite materialist extremists who maintain that consciousness is an illusion or an epiphenomenon or a byproduct of brain activity, we all know that consciousness is actually the cornerstone of Western philosophy. Cogito ergo sum, said Descartes. I think, therefore I am. Something is thinking, something is conscious, therefore something exists. Perhaps the next thing to do is to have a stab at a definition. What is consciousness? Well, this is a notoriously tricky question, but I've personally never heard a better definition than one articulated by a friend of mine who says that consciousness is that which knows what is going on. This is a lovely, clear definition that speaks straight to common sense and intuition. And I've also found it to bear up under closer scrutiny in that whenever I use the word consciousness, I find I can substitute the phrase, that which knows what is going on, with never any loss of clarity or meaning. So, for example, if we say that epigenetic processes display an aspect of consciousness, we can just as well say epigenetic processes display an aspect of that which knows what is going on. So if no one has any objections or better suggestions, I'm quite happy to go with this as a working definition. The next thing to talk about is the fact that consciousness operates on many levels. We're all familiar with the most obvious one, the self. I'm hungry. What time is it? She's cute. Wasn't that funny what Fred said last night? Everything we're currently aware of, all of our thoughts, emotions and experiences all relate to that same heading, the psychological self. But there are many other levels of consciousness in our body. How about our muscular system? Throwing and catching a ball requires some input from the self, but there's a whole nother level of instruction going on to the muscles about contracting this much or that much, this or that twitch rate that we have no awareness of at all. And how about hormone production? If we're at the club and they turn down the lights and put some mood music on, various hormone levels might start to look a bit different. But we're not aware of any of that. We're just having a good time. Liver function, digestion, skin repair are all processes that require an aspect of conscious direction. And how about the immune system? The mysterious and complex immune system, I'm sure, operates on a level of consciousness all its own. And our DNA seems a long way away from us, but the epigenetic processes that coordinate and organise everything down there have also got a measure of conscious direction. So there's all these different levels, and what do we see in every case? We see that the role of consciousness is to connect the system in the body with the outside world. Consciousness connects my eyes with what I see. It connects my muscles with the ball to be thrown and caught. It connects the immune system with the viruses and bacteria that are attacking us. Consciousness connects the neurotransmitters in our brain with events in our emotional life. And it connects the epigenome with factors affecting cellular reproduction. And all these levels seem oblivious of each other. Certainly I, the psychological self, am not aware of my muscles working or my liver or my immune system or DNA. And I doubt very much whether my muscles or my liver are aware of my immune system or DNA either. So the role of consciousness seems to be to connect, but it's connecting systems in the body with the outside rather than with each other. Now, I've been asked questions about this, and it is a bit tricky, so I'll explain it with the help of an example. Hand-eye coordination. When we go to catch a ball, we have all these pictures from the eyes. We've got the blue sky, we've got the ball, we've got our outstretched hands, and naively, sort of intuitively, we think that our muscles see those same pictures. That's how they know where to go, right? But that's not the way it works. It's actually consciousness at the next level up that is coordinating the pictures from the eye and the muscles of the body. But those systems actually remain separate, distinct. The muscles know nothing of the pictures from the eye. They're just doing what they're told. And that same obliviousness applies to all the different systems in the body. They're coordinated, but not connected. There's never any mutual awareness. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the fact that consciousness does not only pertain to individuals, as we humans know it, it can also be the feature of a group. There is such a thing as group consciousness, and we see this with various insects such as termites, bees and ants. No single ant has got much of an IQ, not even the queen. But taken together as a whole, the colony does act and react with intelligence. My favourite example of this is that of the bull ants who live in symbiosis with acacia trees in some parts of Africa and South America. Sometimes they will march down out of their tree, across the forest floor, and partway up a neighbouring tree that is shading their own tree, and they will gnaw all the way around it, thus ring-barking it and killing it, and benefiting their own tree. Now there's obviously a fair amount of application of that which knows what is going on here. Something understands about light and shade and the effect on trees. Somehow the colony knows that it can kill a neighbouring tree and how to go about it. But where is the consciousness that knows all this stuff? Where does it reside? We just don't know. It just seems to be in the group as a whole, and it doesn't seem to need a central nervous system to exist, as has often been assumed. And a question that arises from this, of course, is in how far might this apply to us humans? With our vast brains and many levels, shall we have no aspect of this group consciousness? Just because we're not aware of it is no guarantee that we don't, of course. We've just seen that consciousness can coordinate different systems without the systems themselves being aware of the connection. And when you think about it, each little ant or bee seems to have their own individual consciousness as well as the group one they all share in, because they often communicate with each other as individuals about the type and location of food or danger. The same thing could apply to us. Is music perhaps a project we're all unknowingly collaborating on? Or mathematics? Or society? Or Gaia? I think we just have to leave this as an open question for the time being. The next thing I'd like to talk about, and this will surprise some people, is the relationship to the mind-body problem, which has been with us for a couple of centuries now. We can actually see that of those two, mind, which is consciousness, comes first. Hopefully an example will make that clear. If you're in a relationship and your partner dumps you, you might be depressed. And if a psychobiologist measures the neurochemicals in your brain, they might find that you have an excess of cytosine or some other depression-related chemical. But you're not depressed because of the cytosine in your brain. You're depressed because your partner dumped you. That cytosine is there to express your depression physically. It's how your depression is physically mediated in the world. It's an artifact of your depression. It's not the cause. You might have been secretly longing to get out of this relationship. This could secretly be really good news for you, in which case the psychobiologist will measure an excess of dopamine or some other happiness-related chemical. The point is that the brain, which is the body, can't know which chemical to produce until the mind, which is consciousness, has decided what the appropriate reaction is going to be. So consciousness comes first, and those who would maintain that mental states are consequent upon brain states are barking up the wrong tree, or putting the cart before the horse, or fishing behind the net, or something. Now I think we've done pretty well. We have made sure that consciousness exists. We've got a good working definition. We've seen that it operates on many levels which yet remain oblivious of each other. We've seen that it can be a group phenomenon, and we've seen that consciousness comes first, that the mental side of things leads and informs the physical side of things. And if we take that last statement again, that consciousness leads and informs the physical side of things, that implies that in the same way that the neurochemical is a physical expression of your emotion, not the cause of it, DNA is the physical expression of evolution, not the cause of it. One last thing to consider is that nearly all life on Earth has DNA, and we humans have DNA in common with trees and other plants. And if DNA has an aspect of conscious direction, that implies that trees have levels of consciousness too. Now for the next lecture, I have got a whole bunch more material that I could present, or I was thinking that it might be an appropriate time to take some questions from the audience. So in either case, hopefully see you there. Thank you.